Well, good afternoon. This is Chandra Easton here, speaking to you about the path to perfection. In this talk, I'll be drawing upon the teachings from Ananda Shan in her book, The 17 Steps to Perfection. I'm an esoteric astrologer, and the book is a book of exercises, meditation exercises to help you to heal and purify yourself as you work with the practices of meditation. The focus of the book introduces people who are not familiar with meditation to some of the basic premises. This is a book of occult meditation, meaning that it's specifically useful for people from the Western world. And the reason for this is that we function, generally speaking, we function better if we understand things. It's not a case of meditation sitting in silence. It's a case of working. There are exercises in the book, the 17 steps, and these exercises take us through the different planets in our solar system and some of the luminaries and bodies that are yet to be discovered. And with each one of these exercises, there is an image. There are mantric sentences, there's a guided meditation, there's a basic first step of the guided meditation, or there's an advanced option. So with the book in front of you, you can start at the beginning of the book and go all the way through to the end, or you can pick and choose according to the qualities that you're looking to build and incorporate within yourself. Or a third way of doing it is to consult with your natal chart, your astrology, or an esoteric astrologer to help you understand which parts of your chart are either being activated at the moment by transit, or which parts of your chart from your natal chart require greater attention. Okay, so during the course of this talk, I'm not planning on discussing in depth all of the 17 steps. I'm just going to pick a few of them to give you some examples, but I will start by talking about the planets in our solar system and the energy that comes from those planets. I'll cover the experiences of the meditation and healing, and then I'll go into a few examples. So this is part one of this talk. All astrologers would know that the planets act as transmitters for frequencies of light, for dimensions beyond Earth, out into our solar system and beyond. And, essentially, one of the basic premises of this esoteric astrology is that as above, so below. The planets are out there, but they're also within us, and as we begin to meditate and contemplate upon these various planets, then we can bring the light of this, of the heavens, of the starry realms, into our being. The purpose of consulting one's astrology is to understand what you're here for. What's the purpose of your life? What's the best talents that I can bring forward? How can I make a difference in the world? What is the meaning of it all? And this particular book helps us to sharpen our alignment so that rather than being all at sea, we're focused and one-pointed in our way forward, and we can then begin to integrate the radiance of the sun or the brilliance of the planet Jupiter through Joy or whatever other planets are in harmony with our soul. We are living through fairly chaotic times on Earth, and having a plan and a purpose and a goal and a direction and dedication that goes forward with intent assists us to move beyond the external conflicts or internal conflicts to a point of greater peace. And this time that we're moving through on Earth is this is desperately needed. Peace within the individuals and the nations, and a focused, purposeful intent where we bring forth the best that we can be. And this takes the time that it takes. But when we meditate upon the planets in our solar system, some of these planets are known, some are not yet known, and also the stars and the luminaries, the sun and the moon, we begin to integrate. And Ananda's book, it starts with the the exercise focusing upon the rhythm of the universe, which really reminds us that we are nothing short of stardust. And when we learn to breathe and to resonate with the rhythm of the universe, then we quicken the soul light within ourselves, and we find ourselves on track. And of course, all are there, so we can meditate upon the fiery radiance of the sun, and that can bring us wonderful vitality and deepen our sense of self-esteem and connect us to the physical sun and the heart of the sun, and the many dimensions of the solar energy. We also work with an as yet unknown and undiscovered planet, Vulcan, which is very close to the sun, that connects us into spiritual fire, because we are indeed treading a path of burning ground, a path of spiritual fire. And that's not just me or you, but humanity as a whole. Yes. And so this working with the energy of the planets, Mercury and the sun and Vulcan, it assists us in alignment with the soul. Mercury's been known in times gone by as the messenger of the gods, and Mercury acts to try and bridge the gap between the personality and the soul, between the inner worlds and the outer worlds, so that we can make sense of things and live in harmony and resolve and learn some of the lessons that we've needed to learn. For centuries we've looked to the heavens, we've looked to the moon, we've looked to the sun to make sense of things, and the moon is a very visible luminary in our skies and reflects our personal selves, our ego. And sometimes we know of people, we'll speak to them, oh, well, that's a very sunny person, or this person's moody. And here on earth we have all types, but we have a guardianship and a duty of care to look after this most sacred planet that we live upon. And we're in very dire times at the moment, where the planet itself is being threatened, and partly this is because of the warlike or the aggressive or the selfish energy in humanity, which has mythologically and down through the ages always been connected to Mars, the planet of war. And Mars is one of the non-sacred planets, and what we need to do is to bring those non-sacred, warlike, selfish aspects of ourselves into balance and harmony with, Venus. And Venus is to the earth as the soul is to humanity. It is the sister soul of humanity, and Venus emanates and helps us to move through the illusions and the delusions and to find truth. Of course, we have beautiful images of the planets from NASA, and here's a lovely one of Jupiter, planet of grace and holy healing planet of this second ray of love and wisdom. And it holds this capacity to radiate wisdom. But it's not just the planets. Here's an image. This is Ceres, one of the a dwarf star left over from war, an ancient war on Earth, and it's in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. And of course, when we're working with this this meditation book, it triggers issues within us and brings them to the surface. And so we need to take time sometimes just to have space and to be in the desert. And there's an exercise for the desert in the book that just allows us to integrate. And when we're ready, we can move on, and maybe we'll deal with Saturn next. And in the book, and Saturn's associated with karma and the framework and the limitations, or the doors that open in our life according to how we use our free will. Yes, Saturn's, most people know of Saturn. It is the last planet we can see with the naked eye, and beyond that we have the transpersonal planets. And here we have an image, again from NASA, of Uranus, and Uranus is the heralder of change, and change is all over the earth at the moment, and brings in the vibrant transformational seventh ray energy. Yes, and so as we work with these planets, we could do it, here's Neptune, we could do it on a weekly basis, we could do it on a monthly basis, we could do it as we choose according to the activation in our birth charts. And, Neptune helps us deal with the mystical, the musical, the abstract, and find its role and its place in our lives so that we're not deluded or confused by it. Another one of the planets that is hard to deal with is Pluto, one of the non-sacred planets of our solar system that holds deep shadow energies of nations and races and individuals, and we need tools of light to deal with shadow. Yes, takes the time it takes, and of course the scientists have been very busy, exploring, and they're looking, because the Earth is under such duress, exploring the nebula and deep frontiers of space, trying to find other planets that are lifelike. And they've come upon Minerva, which is also in the book here, and Minerva's considered to be an Earth-like planet, a hot planet. Whether it is suitable for sustaining life on Earth, hard to say. But when we meditate upon Minerva, and Minerva has that connection into the Greek traditions and the Lady Pallas Athena and the energy of truth. So I suppose the truth of it is that we can't go around wrecking other planets. We need to heal the one we're living upon, really. Another one of the foci for the meditation is a fixed star by the name of Sirius, which has been revered since ancient Egyptian times, and it's referred to as the star of eternal hope. And this is desperately what we need at the moment: is hope. Hope for the generations that are following on behind, hope for the future. And another very important star that's connected to the archangelic kingdoms is Vega. And Vega sits in the middle degrees of Capricorn and asks us to take appropriate responsibilities with Earth. And it's a very brilliant star. I don't know whether it's first or second magnitude, but a very brilliant star is Vega. And so all of these stars and planets and luminaries, they form the path, these 70 steps. And when we work with this system of prayer and occult meditation, what happens is that we receive the light and the frequencies of the solar system and the galaxies, and it assists us in our healing process. So it's not just a prayer book or a meditation book, it's a deeply healing book. But of course, it won't work if we don't have the persistence and the dedication, and we set aside a particular time every day, and we work systematically. As I said, we either choose the qualities in the book that we're looking to integrate, we consult with our astrological charts, or we start at the beginning of the book and we go through. But if we do this, eventually what happens is that we begin to resonate with those external planets that are transmitting, and slowly we purify and we lift our vibration. The Kundalini, the spiritual fire moves, and we will become transmitters of holy light through our heart and our hands. And if enough of us do this, then what will happen is that individuals will raise in light, and groups will raise in light, and nations will raise in light, and the frequency of the kingdom of humans on Earth will raise in light, and in this way will our Earth become a sacred planet. Yes, and the only way for Earth to become a sacred planet is if each and every one of us looks into the darkened corners of our psyche, of our personality, and just ask ourselves, what is it that's been obscured from my view that I need to bring into light? What are the facets of my personality that I need to shine so that my radiant soul light can be manifest in the world and can flow through me and heal me and flow out into the world and be a contribution to the raising of consciousness on Earth? And this is the gift of this wonderful book, The 17 Steps to Perfection, is that it helps us to become prismatically vehicles of light, to become transmitters. And it won't happen, a year, or probably not in a decade, maybe not in this lifetime, but if we persist, we will move in this direction, and we will find that we have transcended some aspects of who we used to be. And this is because our feet will be on this path to immortality. And in times gone by, this was not open to the masses. The capacity to travel and to receive the occult secrets on the path to immortality were for the select few, but no longer. A book such as this gives us tools and guidelines and instructions and sequential capacity, and none of us will ever receive more than we can take. But instead of feeling lost and confused and wondering if this is the way ahead, or being filled with doubt, or falling off of our path, we will find that we proceed in a true manner, that we are magnetized and called and directed towards our soul light in a way that keeps us on track and builds greater confidence, and we will become the people that we truly are through such spiritual practices. And eventually, when we follow this path and a regime of dedication and discipline and humility, we will find ourselves, if not in this lifetime, then in some future lifetime, moving towards the feet of the Masters, the Holy Ones, the Immortal Ones, whoever or in whatever way you perceive them to be, those who have the guardianship for the stewardship to assist us, to assist humanity in this movement from darkness into light. Yes, and the Holy Mothers of the Earth, such as Kuan Yin here, they never abandon us. They're always with us. They will assist us every step of the way. Your birth chart, if you could only read it and understand it, is an encoded soul map that's been gifted to you, and it comes from your date and your place and your time of birth. And when your birth chart, your astrological birth chart, is combined with this book, The 17 Steps to Perfection, then what happens is that a whole lot of things just begin to come into focus, and it becomes very easy to identify what are the goals that your soul's wanting you to deal with this incarnation, and what's the timing for that, and what are the best attributes and talents that you can focus. And for centuries people have been recognising the oracular gifts inherent within the ancient wisdom science of astrology, and the esoteric astrology simply reveals the deeper levels, goes beyond the mundane, beyond the traditional. And I wanted to show you here this as an example chart, and it's not of anyone in particular. It's just an imaginary person who was born on the 1st of August 1965, 3:41 in the afternoon in Melbourne. And what I wanted to show you here was that around the inside circle is where the planets are. And what we're particularly looking at here is the planets that are very, very close together in a bit of a huddle. But we're also looking at the diagram in the middle. And the diagram in the middle demarks the relationship between the planets to each other. And the relationships that are problematic, that need greater work, they by and large are indicated by the red lines, or the brown lines, or the orange lines. So for instance, with this particular chart, if you were just to focus upon the point where the red lines converge, you would notice that this here, if you don't know it already, that's the planet Uranus. And it is square the past life point, the south node, and square the future direction point, the destiny point, the north node. So if we were to use Ananda's book, The 17 Steps to Perfection, we would meditate upon the planet Uranus, possibly over and over, throughout the course of years, and it would assist us in clearing obstacles, because this chart tells me that this imaginary person, that their soul is desperate to make sure that they don't go off track, don't get lost, don't get sidetracked, don't get overwhelmed and feel alone and abandoned, don't give in to fear, but find the courage to break through and make change. And so they meditate upon the planet Uranus. Could also meditate upon the planet Pluto to clear out the things in the subconscious, the shadow, the way that the personal will is manifesting in their life. Help them to understand and make sense of their past or their past incarnations. Could also meditate upon the energy that's connected to Gemini, and this is Venus, or connected to Sagittarius, and that would be the Earth. And so Venus would bring in the light of truth, and the Earth would help us to stand strong in our Dharma. Or we could meditate upon Minerva, the goddess of truth, to bring insight and clarity. So I'm just using this chart just to give you a little bit of an idea of understanding how, when you put the system of esoteric astrology hand in hand with the guidelines in this fantastic book, The 17 Steps to Perfection, you don't just understand the why, but you get the how. You get the practical hands-on tool to be able to move forward. And I can tell from this imaginary person's chart that somewhere between the late 20s and the early 50s, a great amount of effort is required by the soul. And if the individual had picked up that timing and was working with transformational energy and meditation and service and healing their shadow, then by the time they got to the mid-50s, the soul would be just, so happy and very strongly able to manifest, because the purpose of all meditation and healing is so that we can get an alignment between our personal self and our soul, and we can be a better vehicle for the transmission of our holy Dharma, our purpose, the reason why that we're here. And so I just wanted to show you that chart, just to briefly introduce you to how they fit together. So just to sum up, within your horoscope you might have planetary squares or other challenging aspects which need to be mastered in order to be brought under soul control. Yes, and the squares are the red lines, and it could be that they're oppositions as well, or inconjuncts. And by recognising the difficult aspects, and maybe the not so difficult ones, within your birth chart, then you can choose to work through the meditation book with one or other of these planets, one by one, and gradually you'll be able to rise up above, and you'll be able to take charge of your natal chart and the planetary configurations and not be run by it. For instance, if Pluto is square to Venus, then you would meditate upon Pluto for a month, or then you could proceed to work upon Venus for another month, and after 2 months you would notice that there'd be a change in the way you're responding to these issues of loss or personal relationships or grief. You see, the purpose of this book is to identify the soul qualities that we're aspiring towards, and to work with those. And so on this path to perfection, humanity is standing upon let's pray that enough of humanity is standing upon the path of higher aspirancy, striving for a better world, and there may be some ahead of them on the path of probation. And for these people, and indeed for all of us, when we're standing on a path, then we are supported by soul group. We feel that we know other people going in a similar direction. We've access to teachings that come from the higher teachers, such as the Lady Ananda, and therefore we can't get lost. Yes, and so it's an encouragement to work. For ordinary humanity, all of us at the moment, we need to work with Pluto and Vulcan, because these particularly two exercises deeply purify the shadow. This could be the racial shadow, or it could be a shadow that's been there from the Second World War, or it could be something that's been there from ancient times. Now, in ancient Egypt, Anubis was the god of the underworld, and his task was to assist people moving through the transition period of death into birth and greater light. And on earth we are all going at the moment from death into greater light, and so we can do no better than to work upon this energy. So when we're not afraid of our shadow, and when we willingly embrace it and learn to love it and bring it joyfully into light, then we're working well with our divine will, because there's a struggle going on earth, and the struggle is between the personal will, the ego's will, and the higher will, the divine will. And there's a global struggle and a racial struggle and an individual struggle going on. And You know, the ego has to learn to surrender and to gracefully move forward. And when we work with the meditation exercise for Pluto, you can see here the image of the triangle. And the triangle's a beautiful, beautiful image that represents the integration of the triplicity of personality, soul and spirit, who we are. And then beyond the triangle, we have the circle of infinity. Yes, and so to move forward, you know, we don't want to fall back into our shadow and back into ways that we were on Earth, you know, decades or centuries ago. And so this requires a certain amount of surrender and giving up, but also a one-pointed looking forward. You know, let's just choose the new direction for ourselves and for the planet. And Pluto encourages us to be tolerant, not intolerant. And when we meditate upon Pluto, the qualities that we're building are courage. We're moving away from fear and gratitude for all that is, rather than a selfishness. And these qualities Pluto gifts us when we work with it.